Level 1. The Poacher. A village on the Mozambique border, a few kilometers from Kruger National Park. Most families here farm maize. It barely feeds anyone through the dry season. You're 22. Your cousin already does this work. He shows up every few months, with cash, a new radio, shoes for his kids. Nobody asks him where it comes from. He hands you a rifle wrapped in a blanket and an axe. The job is simple. Find a rhino before the rangers find you. Take the horn. Get out before sunrise. You walk for 6 hours through the bush at night. No lights, no talking. A ranger patrol with dogs passed this same trail 2 hours ago. You can still smell their fire. You find one at a waterhole, just before dawn. Your hands are shaking. The shot echoes longer than you expect. Then it's just you, a knife, and 11 minutes before you have to be gone. A single horn pays $7,000, more than your family earns in 5 years of farming. You bury the cash in a tin under the goat pen. You don't spend it all at once. 2 men from your village didn't come back from a run last year. Everyone knows the anti-poaching units shoot for snow. Nobody talks about it directly. Everyone thinks about it constantly. Your cousin says there's always another buyer waiting. He's already planning the next run before you've finished, counting this one's money. Level 2. The Courier. Moving horn across the South African border. You're 26 now. You don't hunt anymore. Your job is getting the horn out, across the border, past checkpoints, to a buyer 300 kilometers away. The horn rides wrapped in blankets, hidden under sacks of maize meal. Dogs can still smell it sometimes. That's the real risk. Not the guns, the dogs. At the checkpoint outside Komatiport, a guard waves your truck to the side. You hand him an envelope through the window before he even asks a question. You get $3,000 for this run. That's more than a factory job pays in 6 months. You send half home before you even reach the buyer. Some countries now hand out life sentences for rhino horn trafficking. You know a man serving 25 years for a run just like this one. You try not to think about him. You buy a new phone, a better roof for your mother's house. Small proof that the risk means something, even on the nights you can't sleep. The buyer meets you at a truck stop outside Johannesburg. He never gets out of his car. He just rolls the window down enough to check the weight. Level 3. The Regional Buyer. Based in Maputo, Mozambique. You're 32. You work out of a scrapyard on the edge of Maputo. On paper, you trade in used auto parts. That's not what pays for the house you actually live in. Couriers bring horns to you 3 or 4 at a time. You weigh each one, negotiate a price, and stockpile them in a false wall behind the parts shelves. A courier tries to talk up his price, claims the horn is heavier than it is. You've weighed thousands of these. You cut the offer in half, and he takes it anyway. You've got a wildlife official on retainer. He backdates permits when a shipment needs paperwork. It costs you a monthly fee. That's still cheaper than losing a container. You move maybe 40 horns a year through this yard. At regional prices, that's close to $200,000. Most of it in cash you can't put in a bank. Interpol has flagged this route before. You rotate the storage location every few months now. Nowhere stays safe for long once a shipment starts moving. Level 4. The Exporter. Age 38. Johannesburg. You're 38. You run an import-export business in Johannesburg that deals in African art and carved furniture. Some of what you ship isn't wood all the way through. Horn gets hollowed out and hidden inside carved statues, or ground down and packed inside furniture legs. A trained eye almost never finds it without an X-ray. A shipment gets pulled aside at or Tambo for random inspection. Your stomach drops watching the customs officer run a hand along the crate. He waves it through. You forge sites export permits for the pieces that need paperwork. One convincing stamp is worth more than any bribe at this stage of the chain. A single container reaching Vietnam or China is worth more than your entire legitimate furniture business makes in a year. The legal side is just the cover story now. Scientists have started DNA, matching seized horn back to poaching sites, using a national database. It's slower than you'd like, but it's already led back to shipments like yours. Level 5. The Financier. Age 45. Based near the Mekong River, Laos. You're 45. You own a wildlife farm near the Mekong River. Officially a breeding and tourism operation. Officially is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Horn arrives here from a dozen exporters across Africa. You process it, grind it into powder, and package it for buyers across Vietnam and China. You host provincial officials for dinner twice a month. It's not really about the food. It's about making sure this compound stays exactly as invisible as it looks from the road. The processed powder moves through pharmacies and online sellers, who market it as a cure for everything from fever to cancer. None of it works. All of it sells. You clear close to $4 million a year through this operation, most of it laundered through a chain of hotels you own along the river. Your name has come up in reports from 3 different international task forces. None of them have ever set foot inside this compound. You intend to keep it that way. Level 6. The Kingpin. Age 55. Controls the entire supply chain. You're 55. You don't touch horn, permits, or processing anymore. You control the entire chain, Africa to Asia, from an office that looks like any other import business. A journalist has been asking questions near one of your compounds. You make one phone call. The story never gets published. You never ask what that actually took. You host a fundraising gala twice a year for a wildlife conservation charity. The irony isn't lost on you. It's good cover, and the wine is excellent. You've been named on a U.S. Treasury sanctions list, under an alias that isn't quite your legal name. It hasn't touched your bank accounts, not the ones that matter anyway. Somewhere in Africa tonight, a young man is walking through the bush, with a rifle wrapped in a blanket. He has no idea your name exists. He never will. Level 7. The Fall. Age 61. International Task Force Investigation. You're 61. It takes a joint task force, 3 countries, 2 years of wiretaps, to build a case that finally reaches your desk instead of stopping 3 levels below it. Agents raid the Riverside compound at dawn. Cages, processing equipment, ledgers, years of records, all of it finally in evidence bags, instead of a hidden office safe. You're extradited under an alias you haven't used in 15 years. In court, prosecutors lay out a decade of shipments, traced by DNA, back to specific poaching sites. The sentence is 15 years. Outside the courthouse, conservation groups call it a landmark case. Inside the network, 3 other financiers are already absorbing your old routes. The demand didn't go away because you did. Somewhere near Kruger tonight, an older cousin is handing a wrapped rifle to someone who needs the money badly enough to take it.